Hello and welcome to another Game Nexus arcade video. Today we're going to be taking a look at, as you can see on your screen here, Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution. This is the cartridge version of the game. I'll take you quickly down to the system here. I just have it in the corner here. I'm actually up in the bedroom at my desk, and that screen that you just saw was the a Dell monitor I actually got at Salvation Army along with its matching speakers, which I actually got a different time. But yeah, see, here's the Naomi 2 with the Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution cartridge, and of course we have our upscaler, our power supply, and right over here we have the OpenJVS arcade cabinet, and of course our Xbox 360 controller that allows me to play the game. Now I could like legit wire up the whole JVS setup and run it on that, but it's kind of one of those, this is like so much easier to actually just play the game. You can see the Game Capture HD software like is right on my desk there, but suffice it to say here, we're gonna take a quick look at the test mode. I don't believe there's much of anything too exciting in here, because this basically is the original version of Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution. And then with the GD-ROM versions, they added some extra stuff, with version A being the first GD-ROM, and then version B, which I showed you in the last video for this game, being the second GD-ROM version. But other than your input test, you have some basic stuff here, which is like your normal enemy level, stage select for your versus matches, time limit, and all of that stuff. And one thing you'll notice that's not present is the card settings. Now, I'm going to have to go back and check to see if that's just an English versus Japanese thing, because we're actually in the USA region. Character data, total data, it's all just the standard stuff. But, yeah, you can kind of check all your stats if your machine's been on location. Of course, mine hasn't, because it's just a Naomi 2 that's sitting on by my, my desk here. But nothing too exciting, but as I said, I will go back and switch the region and see if any of the card stuff comes up, or if maybe the whole card system wasn't implemented in the original version. But let's go ahead and get out of this and get right into some Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution, the cartridge version. Okay, and of course, since we're starting on our real Naomi 2, here's the Naomi 2 logo. And then it's going to go ahead and go right into the game. And since we're not using any emulation here, this is just exactly as it would run on the system. And the one thing I did notice is that it seems like everything is a bit zippier when it comes to the cartridge version as opposed to the GD-ROM version. But as you can see, all of our Virtua Fighter 4 characters are back with the addition of Brad and Go. I'm going to just choose Sarah Bryant here, and I will be posting some gameplay of one or two of the other characters in another video. But I could remember back when I played this for the first time when I found it in the local arcade here, and I was so impressed with how the combos, especially for Sarah, had flowed in this game, because I was so used to Virtua Fighter being like kind of stiff in the earlier games, like in Virtua Fighter, and I think I might have played some Virtua Fighter 2 at that point, but I'm not 100% sure if that was really a thing for me. But it was like a breath of fresh air when I thought that this was like an old busted franchise that was just like, you know, it didn't really feel right no matter how much I tried to like it way back in the day. But then again, as I said, I really only experienced the first two games, like some of Virtua Fighter and then a little bit of Virtua Fighter 2, I think at a friend's house. I don't know if it's just me and kind of expecting it at this point, but I noticed that the between matches just seems a little bit zippier, and it just seems like everything flows a bit better on the cartridge version here. But the thing that I always like to make mention of in Virtua Fighter 4 here, I've probably made mention of it in just about every video I've ever made of this game, but the graphic fidelity in this game was not surpassed until Virtua Fighter 5 came out. So like the amount of polygons per character, which at the time was 12,000, and then 50,000 polygons per stage, was not was never beaten until Sega made Virtua Fighter 5 for the Sega Lindbergh hardware. The sad part is that when this game first came out on PlayStation 2, the original version, it just didn't have the graphical fidelity that you see here on Naomi 2, which basically is like double Dreamcast, because it's basically rendering interweaved lines of the game with its two processors and two graphics units that are kind of working in unison, and that's how your Naomi 2 works. So let's say even if Dreamcast had been crazy successful, having a Virtua Fighter 4 port on that system would have had to been like seriously compromised, because you legitimately had half the graphics power, and they would have had to figure something out, and it probably would have even looked worse than the PlayStation 2 version of the original Virtua Fighter 4 here. But other than that, definitely have to say, I was at first, when I bought this cartridge, I was at first kind of like pessimistic, thinking, oh well, the seller accepted my offer for the cartridge, now I have another copy of Virtua Fighter 4, but it's kind of cool to like explore the legit original version of Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution, and feel its subtle nuances compared to its GD-ROM version that I'm more used to, that I played like a lot more of. But the original release date for Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution in the arcade was August 7th of 2002, which was legitimately just about a year after Virtua Fighter 4 came out on August 8th of 2001. So I know in Japanese arcades that might be like 100% common, but like here in the US, if you're like, well, guess what, guys? We're releasing this like brand new game that you have to like learn and buy, and that should be okay with you. Like here in the USA, that's not as like common, except for like something silly like sports games. But in Japan, it's like, yeah, get us the new version. We need to play the latest version of this cutting-edge game to hone our skills. But like here in the US, you wouldn't get people with that kind of enthusiasm of basically playing a slightly tweaked version of the game they bought last year or that they played last year, because this wouldn't hit Japanese PlayStation 2 consoles until January 31st of 2002 is when the original version hit. And it's just funny to think, later that year, this version in the arcades, the cartridge original version of Evolution, hit arcades. And then, of course, to keep up with the home releases, in Japan, you had March 13th of 2003 for your PlayStation 2 version. In Europe, you had June 30th of 2003. And then in Australia, well, Austrasia, which is actually Australia and parts of Asia, you had July 7th of 2003, and then all the way in August 12th of 2003, basically more than a year since the arcade version, everyone here in the US could finally play some Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution, and of course that added feature of the 10th anniversary mode was kind of a thing you could try. Even though technically the 10th anniversary was when Virtua Fighter 4 kind of came out, because if you look at your Virtua Fighter history here, the original Virtua Fighter game actually Well, actually, the original Virtua Fighter game did have a street date of 1993 in the arcades. Yeah, right here it is. 1993. October of 93 was your street date for the arcade version of Virtua Fighter. So then technically your home version lines up with your 10th anniversary, whereas your arcade versions of Virtua Fighter 4 would have been like a little bit early, so I guess that's why they decided to have that whole wide release thing. But the funny part is, in Japan, the 10th anniversary disc was actually a individual release. It wasn't just like bundled with the Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution game, unlike what we got here, which you got both together. And what was really weird with the home version of Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution is you had to go into 10th anniversary mode, and it kind of had to just like shift into it. But yeah, it wasn't that bad. And the 10th anniversary mode was more or less this game, but reskinned with like Virtua Fighter 1-esque graphics, rendered by the PlayStation 2, so they really weren't legit Virtua Fighter 1 polygon graphics, but kind of a reimagining of how Virtua Fighter 1 would look like running in the Virtua Fighter 4 engine. And the funny part about the release for this game was that in the US, there was only a greatest hits version of Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution, because I guess when they released it, they figured, well, this is like the greatest hits version of Virtua Fighter 4. But the funny part about that is, you would think to yourself, yeah, they just added a couple things and made the game ever so slightly better, giving it this quote-unquote evolution version. But the funny part about it is that Virtua Fighter 4 on PlayStation 2 and Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution on PlayStation 2 were almost completely different games. Virtua Fighter 4 on PlayStation 2 was kind of like a really quick and dirty port. They really didn't bother much with it. They just got it on there as quickly as they could so they could have this game on a home console. But when they took this game, Virtua Fighter 4, and ported it to the PlayStation 2, they gave it a ton of extra features. The biggest one, of course, being the graphics didn't look so terribly bad. I could remember, like, on the PlayStation 2 version, like, there's extra shine on people's skin, and it just looked unnatural. And even the most basic version of the arcade version, you look at the graphics and there's basically no comparison. But with this game, they improved the graphics for the PlayStation 2 version. They increased the anti-aliasing, so the graphics didn't look so crispy as they did in the first game. And all kinds of like single-player stuff was added, like more customization in quest mode, improved ranking system, increased number of character items, all kinds of things. And as I had previously mentioned, which I'll probably feature in a future video, is the 10th anniversary mode was included as a bonus in the US home console game, whereas in Japan it was a legitimate individual release, and there were actually a few packages which included a DVD called Memory of a Decade, and some of them even included like a book that would be all about Virtua Fighter 4 and the anniversary of Virtua Fighter, the original game, which is that cabinet I have downstairs in my living room, the original Virtua Fighter running on its Sega Model 1 hardware. But getting back to Virtua Fighter 4 here, of course, as you had seen from my other arcade videos, the only other version of Virtua Fighter 4, other than the two GD-ROM versions of Evolution, version B you saw in one video, and version A, at the moment of recording this in 2026, I don't have a copy of version A, but, you know, it's not like it'd be something too hard for me to get. But after all of those versions of the game, you would have your Virtua Fighter 4 Final Tune. And of course, if anybody kind of had franchise fatigue from getting the first version and the revised version a year apart, you waited almost 2 years for July of 2004 to finally get Virtua Fighter 4 Final Tune, which I tend to call the ultimate version of Virtua Fighter 4, which has like the quest mode and mission mode and everything in it, and it's like kind of the complete package. And to this day, it's kind of sad that Sega's never released Virtua Fighter 4 Final Tune on any kind of like compilation or anything, but who knows. At this point, we're in January of 2026, and with the upcoming Virtua Fighter game coming out, maybe they'll release like an anniversary collection and have all the original Virtua Fighter games and include Final Tune as an added bonus with translated mission mode. That would be really cool, but I'm not going to hold Sega to that. And now here's the Doral fight, which I know I always mention all the time. It reminds me of the Danger Zone from Dead or Alive, because it just looks so similar. And sometimes the noises that Doral makes kind of remind me a little bit of Alpha 152, like all the hissing and everything, because she's like that like clone type, almost not humanoid type character, who's like basically just designed to beat you up. But yeah, I couldn't really even hold my own in this fight with Doral. But what I was originally going to do in this gameplay was do the other Virtua Fighter 4 character, Go. I was going to play as him, but the night I did the gameplay for this, I had honestly very much done my best to get far with him, but I kept on getting the choke point of stage 7 with, what's his name, Jackie. He was a bit of a choke point in this gameplay, and actually the only loss that I suffered, so if you kind of see that there was a bit of a jarring edit there, that's why, because I was beat by Jackie like multiple times, and then finally I beat him and I was really happy about it. But yeah, if it's not apparent by now, Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution, even the Cartridge version, which is the legitimately like 1.0 version of the game, is a very good game, and I would honestly highly recommend it. If you ever find an arcade that has Virtua Fighter 4 and it doesn't have like version A or version B in the corner when you're seeing it refreshed, and then you know it's this version, it's the original cartridge, and it's honestly an excellent version of the game. But honestly, you probably would get this from all my gameplays, but you really can't go wrong with Virtua Fighter 4. It's just an excellent fighting game, be it the original, Evolution here, or Virtua Fighter 4 Final Tune. And of course, the console version of the original Virtua Fighter was okay, it was a decent port. The console version of this game was a lot better because they put a lot more time in it. And then of course, as I'd mentioned, never got a version of Final Tune in any home console to this day, sadly. But yeah, definitely check out Virtua Fighter 4 Final Tune. It's an excellent, definitely check out Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution. It's an excellent arcade game, played on an emulator, played on your PlayStation 2, played on any way you possibly can. It's just a great game. Well, this has been another Game Nexus arcade video, and I shall see you later. Bye.
Game over.